So I think that these figures will be a surprise to very few families up and down the country. I think many of them, looking at their own family finances, will know exactly what's going on in the economy and how difficult it has been. I do think that we need a change of approach because we've had 12 years of a Conservative government, and successive chancellors have brought about this situation where we have had slow, then no growth, and where we seem to have fallen to the bottom of the economic league tables. Jeremy Hunt said this morning that around a third of countries in the world are in recession, of which we are now one. And I would just simply ask why we're in that third, not the other 2/3 of the world. I think a Labour government could make a difference. Of course, these are challenging times, but I think our plans, whether that's on green growth and investing and unlocking some of the challenges to creating wind power and changing our energy mix in a way that will also give us good jobs, will help. And I think there's other things that we can do, supporting parents through better childcare and breakfast clubs that will bridge the gap, before the start of work, before school starts, to help parents have a better choice of jobs. I think there's lots of things that a Labour government can do. In the end, it needs a change of approach, seeing growth as coming not just from the top down, but from the bottom up. And that will be Labour's approach, which will help our country grow better.
And what would Labour's approach be when you look at so many strikes going on at the moment? I mean, how would you cope with that? You can't just dole out money that we don't have, can you?
No, my approach, I think, would be different. I would like to see a Labour government bringing forward its plans that would help us plot a course so that working people could do better over time. Take the rail strikes, for example. We needed a government that was prepared to set out a plan for the railways and work with unions and employers to make sure that we've got the train staff, the drivers and others that we need in the industry to make our trains work well. I got the impression the Tories were trying to stir up that rail strike, not bring it to an end. And I worry about that for the NHS as well. We need a government that's got a plan to bring more staff into the health service and also keep the staff that we've got. We're seeing nurses leave because the conditions that they're working in are so stressful and difficult and challenging. And so we need a government that is prepared to have a plan for our NHS that keeps staff there. Nobody wants these strikes to happen. It will be very difficult for everybody, not least the working people themselves. Going on strike is no joke. It's really hard for families to take that decision. But in the end, what else can they do? And we need a government that's prepared to have a plan to help people, not cause the very problems that are challenging them so much.
Yeah, forgive me, Alison McGovern, but to say when it comes to the nursing strike, which I think does bring it to a different perspective, because this is a group who do not want to strike, right? So there's a different view. But to say, well, there needs to be a plan. Well, that doesn't mean anything, does it? They're asking for 10%. Now, if you give a 10% pay rise to nurses, then everyone else is going to ask for a 10% pay rise, and that's when it becomes unsustainable. Having a plan that doesn't answer the immediate problem, does it? What is the plan?
So let's get it right. Some people's pay in our economy has gone up a lot more than nurses' pay. So I don't think that you can say, well, if we help nurses, everyone else will want what nurses have got, when some people's pay has gone up by a lot more than that already. But what I mean is, we need to set out funding for the NHS, and we'll hear more about that on the 17th of November, I believe, or I hope we will. And then as the Labour Party, we'll be looking at that and seeing where we can do more to fund the NHS properly so that we can pay our staff. We've already indicated some areas where we think we can bring in revenue. For example, we still have this bizarre non-DOMS loophole, and if we shut that, we could help pay for our NHS properly. And I know that the last Labour government, when it was in power, not only cut waiting lists, but also stood by our staff in the health service. And that's what we would want to see. I can't, from opposition, be the negotiating party in those discussions. But if we had a Labour government, we would want to stand by all of those staff in public services that work so very hard.